A lot of people don't like hearing the word sin. It conjures up images of stern preachers pounding pulpits, flecks of spittle spraying those unfortunate enough to sit in the first pew, and condemning the congregation as nothing but a bunch of miserable wretches bound for the nether regions of the earth. I get it. It can seem judgmental, can be judgmental. So why do I often boast that we Presbyterians have a robust understanding of sin? It's because it is an understanding that is less about making moral judgments and more about simply confronting the realities of the human condition. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Saturday, September 14th, 2024. If you listened to my interminable series of devotionals on H. Richard Niebuhr's Christ and Culture, you'll recall that one of the ways he distinguished between different types of Christianity was through each type's understanding of sin. At the one end of the spectrum, there are those who see sin as a problem located out there in culture. Those inside the Christian community are largely seen as immune from sin's insidious effects. Sin is radical, in other words, but it is not universal. At the other end of the spectrum, there are those who see sin more like a lack of enlightenment. There are those great souls who have largely risen above it and who have shown us the best and highest of what we can be. Most everyone lacks full enlightenment, but it certainly does not define who we are deep down inside. For them, sin is universal, but it is not radical. So to begin with, our understanding of sin is that it is radical and universal. That is, it infects the whole person and no one is immune. And while that might sound highly judgmental, it's really not. Why? Two reasons. First, those who think sin only infects those outside the church are usually quick to identify sin with things like sex, drinking, dancing, and any sort of lifestyle they deem offensive. It never includes their own faults, to which they are completely blind. That's why you'll often find some segments of the Christian church to be highly judgmental. And that's where people begin to associate any talk of sin with a judgmental attitude. But if sin is universal, we cannot stand apart from the rest of the human race and claim to be morally superior. We're all in it together. Second, our understanding of sin doesn't focus on particular moral peccadillos. We're not focused on playing a game of gotcha. We know full well that we are caught up in the web of sin just as is the rest of the world. That means we're not so much interested in casting judgment on others as proclaiming the grace of God which rescues us from the ultimate consequences of sin. For us, sin is manifested in all the different ways we elevate ourselves and diminish others. It is manifested in the ways we deflect blame away from ourselves and onto other people. Sin is manifested in the ways we try to assert our own wills above the needs and desires of others, and even above God's commands. There is one simple story in the Bible, early in the book of Genesis, that really tells us all we need to know. You know the story. God places the man and woman in the garden and tells them, "You may eat freely of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat." So what happens? Temptation, represented in the form of a serpent who convinces the woman that the fruit of that tree is really good to eat. Then comes this memorable encounter. They heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden at the time of the evening breeze. And the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But the Lord God called to the man and said to him, "Where are you?" He said, "I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself." The Lord said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded you not to eat?" The man said, "The The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me fruit from the tree, and I ate. Then the Lord God said to the woman, What is this that you have done? The woman said, The serpent tricked me, and I ate. Disobedience, fueled by curiosity, leading to hiding, followed by an act of self-will, and topped off with an impressive round of deflecting blame onto others. Everything about sin is right here in this story. The woman blames the serpent. The man blames the woman. And for good measure, he even blames God. The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me the fruit of the tree, and I ate. So I don't really care what you call it. Call it sin, call it the human fault, call it whatever you want, but the reality is simple. There is something within all of us that corrupts our lives and the lives of those around us, and we're all infected. It's a pretty robust understanding of sin, and it doesn't require us to be judgmental. When we return Monday, we'll take a look at some more of the things that make a Presbyterian a Presbyterian. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.